lived as long as some of the people running for president, but let me tell you, on the Republican side, no one running for president has more experience or a better understanding of our national security issues than I do. And by the way, if that wasn't true, Congressman Pompeo would never have endorsed me, because no one is more serious about intelligence matters and national security than he is. And so, we need someone that's going to run for, and I'm proud of the other work we've done in my time in the Senate. We brought accountability to the VA. I actually worked with Bernie Sanders to make it legal to fire VA executives that aren't doing a good job. Now, we don't agree on anything else though, but we agreed on that. We put sanctions on Hezbollah. I led the effort to wipe out the Obamacare bailout fund. We dealt with human trafficking in the Girls Count Act. These are real achievements, and I'm proud of them. But it's not enough. It's not enough. We cannot change the direction that a bad president has put us on unless we elect a strong president to undo that damage. And that's why I'm asking you to caucus for me tomorrow, because if you elect me president, we are going to undo the damage that Barack Obama has done to the United States. When you elect me president, for the first time in 8 years, you're going to have a president that actually follows the Constitution of the United States of America. A president that will protect your First Amendment right to live out the teachings of your faith in every aspect of your life. A president that protects your Second Amendment right to defend yourself and your family. A president that believes in the 10th Amendment, which says real government power belongs at the state level, not at the federal level. I will protect and defend and uphold the Constitution of the United States, and that's why on my first day in office, I will repeal every single one of Barack Obama's unconstitutional executive orders. Did they win? Yeah. Are you happy? And I'm asking you for your vote because everyone else in the Republican primary was cheering for Loyola. That's who they were playing, right? They told me last night at the debate, they all said, I hope Wichita State loses. So that's what they told me at the debate. Nice try, I know. Yeah. Number two, you'll have a president that believes in free enterprise again. The free enterprise system works. You know why my parents had a job at that hotel? Because someone who had access to money risked that money to open up that hotel. And they hired people like my parents to work there. And as a result, they were able to raise a family and achieve their dreams. I love free enterprise. It is the best economic model in the world for people that are trying to make it. For people that are very wealthy, they're okay with big government. They may not like it, but they can deal with it. For people that are trying to make it, free enterprise is the only system that works, because it is the only economic model where you can make poor people richer and you don't have to make rich people poorer. And that's why, unlike Mr. Trump, my campaign has not been built on personal insults. If you go to my website, marcorubio.com, you will see a real plan to fix our tax code. You will see a real plan to roll back regulations. You will see a real plan to save Social Security and Medicare. You will see a real plan to balance our budget. You will see a real plan to fully utilize all of our energy resources. And on healthcare, it isn't just about the lines around the states. You will see a real plan to repeal and replace Obamacare once and for all. When you elect me president of the United States, you're going to have a real commander-in-chief. Not this version of it we have now, which is weak and failed commander-in-chief under Barack Obama. Look how dangerous the world has become. You have a lunatic in North Korea with nuclear weapons. You have the Chinese government hacking into our computers, stealing our secrets, stealing our inventions, taking over the South China Sea. You have Vladimir Putin sowing instability in Europe and in the Middle East. You have Iran is going to get $100 billion, $100 billion of sanctions relief because of Obama's deal with Iran. And you've got radical Islamic jihadists spreading all over the world, with affiliates in over a dozen countries. And in the face of all of these threats, Barack Obama's gutting our military. It's not an exaggeration to say that. We will soon have the smallest army we have had since the end of World War II. We will soon have the smallest Navy we have had in a century. We will soon have the smallest Air Force we have had in our history. The world is growing more dangerous and our military is growing smaller and weaker. And this is not just reckless. It's unfair to our men and women in uniform, who we're putting into harm's way with older equipment and less training and less people alongside them and rules of engagement that don't allow them to win. All of that changes when I'm president. All of it. When I am president of the United States, look, defense spending is not the reason for our debt. And that's why when I am president of the United States, we are going to undertake a Reagan-style rebuilding of the United States military. When I'm president of the United States, we're going to have a real war on terror. What they have now is a fake thing. And look, I don't want war. I'm against war. I don't like war. I want peace. We want peace. The problem is you can't have peace unless you defeat the enemies of peace. ISIS is an enemy of peace. When I'm president, the best intelligence agencies in the world are going to find these terrorists. The best army and the best military force in the world will destroy them. And let me tell you something. If we capture any of these jihadists alive, they're not coming to Kansas. They're going to Guantanamo, where they belong. We are going to stand with our allies when I'm president, especially our allies like Israel, who have been betrayed. Israel is the only pro-American, the only free enterprise democracy in the Middle East. And we have a president that treats the Prime Minister of Israel with less respect than what he gives the Ayatollah in Iran. Wow. The supposed frontrunner in this race, Donald Trump, says that he's not taking sides when it comes to Israel and the Palestinians. I'm taking sides. When I'm president, we're going to be on Israel's side. And I am going to deal with that on my first day in office. Because as soon as I walk into the Oval Office, I am going to cancel Barack Obama's deal with Iran. We are going to take care of our veterans again. If you are a veteran, will you raise your hand so we can thank you for your service? God bless our veterans. We owe them that applause, but our veterans deserve more than just an applause. They deserve the care they have earned. They took care of us. We should now be taking care of them. And we're not doing that. It's not happening. 2 weeks ago, I was in South Carolina. USA Today headline, calls to the VA suicide hotline go to voicemail. All right. Well, yesterday we get the news that one of those calls that left a voicemail was a young man who took his life. Laid himself out in front of a track, was run over by a train, took his life. The next day, he happened to get a phone call. They were calling him back after leaving his voicemail. Is anyone going to be fired? Anyone going to be held accountable for this? The answer is no. There's no accountability. Look, there are good people at the VA. There are good people working there. But there are people that are not doing a good job there. When I'm president of the United States, if you're not serving our veterans, you are going to be fired from your job at the VA. And by the way, when I'm president, Your VA benefits are not going to belong to the government. They're going to belong to you. You will be able to take your VA benefits to any hospital or any doctor that you want to go to. One more point. I know the governor will agree with this too. A lot of our veterans, when they come home, they don't stop serving. You go to any police department in America, any fire station, any EMT truck, you're going to meet a veteran. So many of our veterans come back and continue to serve. So this weekend I was in Virginia, and the news came out that 3 police officers had been shot, one of them killed. The one who was killed was on her first day on the job, and she was a Marine reservist on her first day on the job. And so I just always want to take a moment to thank our EMTs, our firefighters, and our police officers for what they do for us and what they do for our country. And when I'm president of the United States, you're going to have a president understand the roles that our values play in our country. You can't have a strong country without strong people. You can't have strong people without strong values. And you can't have strong values without strong families. No one is born with strong values. No one. Values have to be taught to you, primarily by what kids see, not just from what they hear. And those values are taught in strong families and reinforced in strong communities supported by our churches. Anyone who denies, look, I'm a Christian. You cannot impose Christianity on anyone. I cannot impose my faith. Christianity is the free gift of salvation that has to be willingly accepted. But to ignore the role that the values our faith teaches have had on our country is to ignore our history. Why are Americans the most generous people in the world? Why do we not just pay our taxes but contribute to charities? Why do we volunteer hours of time to help in the community? Because our faith teaches us that we have an obligation to serve one another. That if you want to serve the Lord, you have to serve each other and care for one another. Amen. This has shaped our country, and we're losing it. And that's why religious liberty is so important. But that's also why it's so important to have a president that will do as I will. And that is, I will never be ashamed to say, no matter what the political consequences might be, that all human life is worthy of the protection of our laws. As I have said in one of the debates, I would rather lose an election than be wrong on the issue of life. And the good news is you don't have to lose an election to be right on the issue of life. Because one of the best developments that's happened in America today is that younger Americans are more pro-life than their parents' generation is. Yes. We are making a difference. We are making progress. This is what it's going to take to turn America around. But first we have to win this election. And tomorrow you have a choice to make. And so I'm here to ask you to caucus for me. And many of you are probably here because you've already made that decision. I ask you to wake up on time. Don't oversleep. I ask you to go out today and encourage as many people as you can. This election has been so different. That literally 10 votes, 15 votes could be all the difference. We don't know. I need your help. I ask you to leave here today not just as supporters, but as activists. You have about 18 hours to use social media and get 10 or 15 other people and make sure everyone who's eligible to vote comes out in caucuses tomorrow, because I need your help. But maybe there's some of you here that are trying to make up your mind. Maybe you're interested in some of the other people running because you like them, or maybe you like their attitude or the way they talk, or because they're straight talkers, whatever you might be. Let me just say something to you. This election can't be about making a point. It has to be about making a difference. We have to win. And usually when they say that to us as conservatives, what that means is you need to settle for someone who's less conservative. The great thing about this election is you can vote for someone who's as conservative as anyone running for president, but someone who can win. Someone who can unify this party, because we can't win if we're divided. And someone who can grow it, because we can't win if we don't grow. And by growing our movement, it doesn't mean watering down our principles. It means taking our principles as I will, as your nominee. I am going to take conservatism to the people living paycheck to paycheck, because I grew up paycheck to paycheck, because I've lived paycheck to paycheck.